Hey, what's going on, you guys? Keith Carnes here, and we are here with a new episode, none other than Criminal Mind Talk. As you see above, it is going to revolve around this week on a man named Harold Shipman, who killed a staggering 250 plus people. That means over 250 people. Shipman was a doctor and actually was a very respected doctor in his craft, and was even interviewed excuse me, he was even interviewed in a documentary about, well, I don't know if it was a documentary, but it was called, just give me a second here, let me find it, World in Action, where he discusses how the mentally ill should be treated in society, basically. And so that just shows you he was considered amongst many to be a respectable, highly credited, so to speak, doctor. And basically what he did was he would take patients of his, people that trusted him with their lives, trusted him to be a good doctor because he had a good reputation of being a good doctor and all that kind of stuff. And basically what he would do is he would overdose them. He would inject them with too much metamorphine or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but he would inject them with too much, obviously, and purposely make them overdose and kill, and they would die. And he would rule their death as old age, stuff that, you know, older people would die from, that older people commonly die from, and people, I'm sorry, but then he would also fill out that they were in poor health, even though the family say that completely different, that they were completely fine before seeing the doctor, and then once they were around the doctor, all of a sudden they die out of the blue, and he's claiming that they were in very poor health when they were with him, and, you know, obviously it just didn't add up. So anyway, that's what happened. So he took the lives of over 250 people, it says, and he ended up committing suicide by hanging himself. So he also took the coward's way out instead of paying for his crimes. He was known as Dr. Death, very unoriginal. And he was sentenced to life imprisonment plus 4 years of forgery. Forgery being, oh yeah, that's right, I'm sorry. The 4 years of forgery was then after they were dead, he would actually make up fake wills and put himself in it. And that's what I don't understand is, obviously, Harold Shipman was a smart man. He, you know, was a very, very, you know, well-known doctor, very respected, very successful in his, excuse me, in his, what would you call it? I don't know. He was very successful in his profession. There you go. That's what I was trying to think of. And stuff, but why would your own patients will you into their will? That's not very... That just doesn't make sense unless you had a history with the family and you were a really good friend of the family. It doesn't add up. And he did this, and many times. And, you know, I mean, for fuck's sake, you're a doctor. You know, he made plenty of money to begin with. That just shows you the greed of people out there. And it actually took one of the victims' daughters, I believe it was a daughter. She had the police look into it because she knew her mother didn't want to put a doctor into her will, and he actually made it where the will, obviously that was wrote up by Shipman, it was fake, actually excluded the two children from the will, which made absolutely no sense, as the children, you know, both didn't have any kind of a bad relationship or anything like that with their mother. So anyway, that's pretty much what it is. You know, it was like basically, it was like a self-screwing over. He killed way too many people to keep track of, and putting yourself in your victim's will is pretty obvious to put up, you know, red flags, you know. Like, oh, you know, gee, I wonder if he was responsible in some way, shape, or form. He's benefiting from every one of their deaths, and every time they go and see him, they all of a sudden they become ill and die. It's a little ironic. Usually I tell you guys what I think of the guy or the woman that we're talking about in this series, but I think it's pretty clear now. If you're a viewer of the series, thank you, of course. But you should know by now you know, obviously the guy was beyond a scumbag. I mean, he killed over 250 people. And then he commits suicide. Doesn't even pay out his full term. Doesn't allow himself to die of old age in prison. He'd rather die, so he commits suicide. He takes the coward's way out, which is very common with some criminals. And that's pretty much it. I mean, what's more to say? The guy's a piece of trash. Human trash, and more of an animal than a human, in my opinion. I mean, to take the lives of 250 plus people, that is a ton of people. And yeah, that's a big devastating amount of victims. Anyway, guys, this is Keith Carnes. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and as always, I'll see you guys tomorrow on Friday for a new Which is Better. You guys have a great Thursday, and I will see you then. Peace.